Welcome to this POV, a point of view series by Harbinger. This POV series aims at addressing most frequently asked questions in HR tech, backed of course by Harbinger's own research and experience in this area. My name is Jomi John, and today's point of view series is going to be about 5 necessary integrations in any gig application. Joining me would be my co-host Subodh. Welcome, Subodh.
Thanks, Jomi. Really excited to be a part of this series. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And so let's talk about this really important topic. And as we begin, the most important question that comes to my mind is what exactly are gig applications and why is it that they are so relevant now?
Yeah, that's a very nice question, and I think if we go back a few years, you'll notice that gig they have witnessed continuous growth in the kind of percentages of workers that are employed under the alternate work arrangement. Uh, these could be either in a contingent form, these could be part timers, these could be freelancers, and so on. And more organizations are opting to employ this kind of a contingent workforce. And as the volume is increasing, they're seeing increasing difficulties and challenges in managing these type of workers. And that has sort of led to the emergence of specialized gig platforms, which sort of offer HR type of workflows, but for gig workers.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, I remember having read the result of a survey done by Deloitte's Human Capital Trend Survey, which showed that almost 50% of those who were surveyed felt that there was an increase in the number of contractors. About 23% felt there was an increase in the number of freelancers, and about 13% felt that there was an increase in the number of gig workers. So what it essentially means is whether you may be called a contractor or a freelancer or a gig workers, the umbrella term is the contingent workforce, which is definitely showing a lot of promise in the future, and definitely therefore the HR tech market needs to take cognizance of it. So, to address such an important market dynamic, I would now like to welcome Mahesh Kumar, who is a specialist and has architected many such gig applications in the past, and also has on many such integrations related to gig applications. Mahesh Kumar has also helped in authoring a very informational infographic where he would also be talking about how these gig applications work, and we would be sharing that with you post this POV. So, hi Mahesh, welcome to this point of view.
Hey, hi Jomi, hi Subodh.
Welcome, Mahesh. So, Mahesh, let's just jump right into it. I think we, all of both of us, me and Jomi, we have heard of gig quite a lot. But let's start with the basic. Like, what sort of platforms and what type of providers exist today, and really, how do they help manage this gig workforce?
Yeah, actually, Subodh, I think you started with a very valid point about these traditional HR applications. They are not being capable enough to sort of support cycle of contingent workforce in the given organization. And I would like to just extend that thought by supporting it for an example. So if you, let's say, look at an HRIS where that becomes like a most of the time a primary system of record. It may not have provisions for shift arrangements or flexible payment options and many such different features that are required to manage contingent staff. And I think that is why in this particular ecosystem now organizations are using these different solutions to fulfill their needs, and sort of that's why the emergence of these different applications is coming up and helping organizations to manage their contingent staff.
So, very interesting. And what kind of solutions exist today, and how do they really help?
if you look at this different types of applications, I think we can categorize those into few buckets. Maybe starting with vendor management system, then managed service provider applications, on-demand staffing solutions. There's a fair bit of compliance and risk assessment, which is a slightly different than the traditional workers or the rules and regulations that are out there. So that's where there are compliance and risk management solutions that are tuned for contingent workforce. Spend management is another important aspect because the type of the jobs and the nature of the work sort of gets into a lot of it where they have to submit their expenses, get it reimbursed and all of that. So that's why those type of applications play a role. And then the whole life cycle management. Now, conventionally, if you look at the HRIS systems are used for managing the life cycle of a worker at organization. But here, there are specific applications like lifecycle management solutions are coming up which help you manage your contingent workers even a better way. And I think apart from some of these key categories, there are certain niche applications that are also being used, like calendar management, collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams, and so on. So I would say it's a combination of many such tools and applications that people have started looking at while managing the contingent workforce.
So, Mahesh, based on what you just said, apart from generic HRIS tools that are there, you have specific software that are catering to specific challenges in this market. Like you mentioned, I think spend management tools for payment to such flexible, uh, you know, uh, payment options. Is that what you suggested?
Yes, absolutely, Jomi. I mean, the one part of the equation is about addressing the challenges that comes onto the domain front, where the nature of the job, the nature of the work, the type of the engagements, all needs to be handled separately, and that's why there are these specific applications that are out there. But on the other side, if you notice, though these organizations are being using these applications and they're helping them in many ways, you would see they also bring certain challenges with respect to different workflows that are there and the data exchange issues and so on. So I think there are two sides to it. One is that there are domain aspects that are getting handled, but there are certain angles with respect to the technology and the back end of it, which also needs to be addressed.
So, if you could help us understand some of the issues that you just spoke about.
Okay, so let's understand this maybe by going through an example workflow, and which is probably focused more onto the central entity of this ecosystem, which is worker, right? So like say if this organization start with these different platforms, the data about worker flows through these different platforms. So like at the very first step, it is processed as a candidate data into the ATS, where essentially the application starts flowing in when there is a job position or a requirement that is like there. And then like the worker gets hired, and then during onboarding, the whole that candidate data becomes worker data. Then the similar object which is required by during now by design, all these applications like ATS and onboarding system, LMS, and all of those are working independently. So without an integration, HR will need to sort of replicate this data at these different platforms manually. And that's like I think one of the example. Apart from the worker, there are more such data entities which are shared by these platforms. Like, and then in the interest of time, we'll not go over all of them. But let's look at 3 or 4 more, which are essential to any gig application that as they plan to integrate with others, right? So the job description is another one, worker engagement details, demographics, alerts and notification. So these are some of the other ones. So if you look at the job description, it gets transferred between VMS, HRIS and ETS most of the time. Then the worker engagement details, again, it has a lot of attributes which are required by many other platforms, but at least a engagement start date and end date are the most essential ones which are required by any gig application if you look at. Then the demographics that are required to track the worker location as well as their actual work location, and alerts and notifications and so on. Now, like when you started with just worker, it's one entity, so you're okay with entering it manually. But as you sort of look at your use case and the scenario, you end up with such 3, 4, 5 different entities, and it becomes like a lot of work for users to handle it manually. And that's why I think it becomes challenging as you look at these workflows and data issues.
Yeah, that's really insightful, Mahesh. And how do you think integration will solve these problems?
Okay, I think so. That's an interesting question, and I think I would like to take a step back and probably we should take a look at this solution more like an angle from automation, where we are trying to automate the data transfer between these platforms. That's the crux of it, and the reason to do it is that so that we have this data move between these platforms seamlessly, so that users are not stressed about the data inconsistency issues or manual steps required to fix them and so on. And I think that is where integration can help you achieve all of it. So one can approach this situation, I would say, in multiple levels, where the most basic integration can start from the data layer, where in this type of integration, one can take care of synchronizing core data entities like workers between these platforms and systems, or the other we just discussed a few minutes back. And then the next integration level comes through is the UI level integration, where integration between, let's take an example like integration between calendar application and ATS. Now, while scheduling an interview, if there is no integration between, let's say, ATS and calendar, but the recruiter has to work at two different platforms. But if there's a UI level integration, they can just book that interview right from ATS itself, and the updates flow back into the calendar application. So it saves their time. The overall user experience is more seamless. You can take this integration to even further levels by, let's say, integrating more applications together. Like say ATS and calendar now gets integrated with a collaboration platform like Microsoft Teams. Now everything can happen from Teams, which is a collaboration tool, and other systems get upgraded. So based on the user profile and the need, you can pick and choose what platforms you need to integrate and automate this data flow, so that you make the overall user experience very seamless for your end users.
Got it, got it. Thanks, Mahesh. That helps. And has Harbinger teams, have they built such integrations, and is there like a standard method that you follow to building these?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have built many such applications as well as the integrations between them. And talking about method, I think it's completely based on the scenario and requirements. So based on what you are trying to achieve, the overall approach can change. Let's take an example of a simple integration scenario where the requirement is to only connect 2 or 3 systems. I think most of the examples we talked today are on those lines. And there one can go with like a point-to-point option, where just connecting them together, few API calls, and you are done with your integration. But as the complexity increases, where you are trying to integrate with more and more number of applications, I think one may want to go for a integration hub kind of an approach, where an integration hub comes with its own core framework, which is there to quickly enable the common components, put those together, and have a connector built around it, so that you can focus more on the business aspect, the data flow that you need to address, and so on. So I think that's how, if you ask me, like there is no I would say a single checklist or a set of recommendations that one can use to really devise a right integration strategy. But I think there are certain guidelines that we have definitely come up with based on our experience. And I think that's what we apply when we sort of work on these kind of integration requirements, and then find out the right I would say approach for our customer needs. And I think it's not that you have to start with one and stick to it all along. I mean, you can always upgrade your approach. So you can start with the basic one and slowly incrementally take it to the next level. Even that is very much possible.
Absolutely. And like Mahesh said, just to summarize, you could have a point-to-point integration approach. You could have an integration hub, and also you have the most 5 necessary data entities that are required for any integration for a gig application. That's the secret sauce. That's what goes behind the scenes before you're building an integration. Um, if you're contemplating building an integration, then this point of view series is right for you. Also, we have tons of resources that could help you, you know, with the approaches, the guidelines, and the checklists that Mahesh spoke about. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a line at consulting@harbingergroup.com. And thank you so much for staying with us on this point of view series. Thank you very much, and stay safe. And a big thank you to my co-host Subodh, and also to Mahesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.